You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the Giants out-homer the Brew Crew as they take the first of a three-game series in Milwaukee, 5-4 final in this one. Chapman, McCray, and Yaz all went deep as the ball was just flying off the bats out at American Family Field. Tonight, the Brewers had the Brewers had two home runs of their own. Both came against Logan Webb, who doesn't give up very many of those. And speaking of Webb, he was okay tonight, but not the same dominance we have seen from him in his prior 4 or 5 outings, but was able to give the Giants 5 okay innings tonight before getting in trouble in the 6th when he was pulled for Camilo Doval. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. And make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben Kasvik does a great job. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet just $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Giants in this one, Webb came out shaky. That first inning, man, he labored. Took him through 33 pitches to get through that first inning, and you know it was a muggy day out there in Milwaukee. You heard Flem talking on the broadcast about how it was raining like heavily earlier that day, but still really hot. So nice and humid. It's this time of year you kind of hope that you'll get some good weather when you got to travel to the Midwest and back east, and that it's going to not be as relentlessly hot. For the Giants, they just couldn't catch that break today. And the Giants pitchers this year, that heat seems to have gotten to them at multiple times. And in this one, Webb was gassed after that first inning. I mean, 33 pitches, way too many long innings for Giant starters lately that have prevented them from pitching deep in games. And that's exactly what happened to Webb today. After that first inning, he was wet. Looked like he just jumped out of a pool, super sweaty. And as we've talked about many times, coming back from a long inning like that for a pitcher is really difficult. Not in the sense of like finding your rhythm again. He was able to do that, but it's really tiring being on the mound, just chucking pitches for 30 minutes straight without being able to grab some water and towel your face and your hands off. It's rough. And so Webb, it clearly affected him. He did not have the same accuracy and same location that he had in these last few starts. Today, he walked 3, struck out 4, gave up those 2 home runs, gave up 4 total runs in 5 innings of work. Did come back out for the 6th inning and got roughed up a little bit before being pulled for Camilo Doval. But in between that first inning and the 6th inning, he was pretty solid. Bottom of the 2nd came out with a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Looked like he was bouncing back to do the typical Logan Webb thing where he locks in after a shaky first inning. And for the most part, he did. He did labor through some innings, threw a lot of pitches. I mean, in that first inning, part of the reason that was such a long inning was Contreras. That at bat alone took 15 pitches. Dude fouled off like 8 pitches in the at bat, and that seemed to be a theme all day long for the Brewers, to the point where I started thinking, you're not going up there trying to hit foul balls and things like that. But I think the Brewers came up there with a very, very, very good plan of attack against Logan Webb, forcing him to throw strikes and taking the bat off the shoulder and swinging when those pitches are close, and not letting him get those strikeouts on the corners today as much. He got a few of them. But the Brewers did. they must have fouled off like 30 pitches today. I'm like, maybe that's an exaggeration, but 20 to 30 pitches, the Brewers probably fouled off today. That Wilson Contreras at bat fouled off like 8 alone, just himself in that one. It seemed like every at bat had at least like 1-2 strike foul ball in this one. So that really, really, really added to the total pitch count for Webby. But the Brewers, I think, had a really good game plan in just trying to run up that pitch count for Logan Webb, get him out of the game early, because he's a guy who just generally cruises through those middle innings. And we saw that in his last outing. And speaking of his last outing, I couldn't help but watch this game and just shake my head when I'm sitting here watching Logan Webb come back out for the 6th inning in a game where the Giants are, they were in it in Milwaukee, but They're 5.5 out of the wild card. It feels out of reach at this point. And now Bob Melvin is going to let Logan Webb stand in there and throw 100 plus pitches. What are we doing? The last time that Logan Webb was out there, you remember that he didn't have a shutout going, but he had a chance at a complete game, a tie game in the 8th inning. They pulled him in before the 9th, and the Giants ended up losing that game in Logan Webb's last start. And I came on the postgame show and said Logan Webb should have come out and pitched that 9th inning. He had less than 100 pitches and has gone over that mark plenty of times. And in that situation, it made sense because Webb was rolling. He didn't look super fatigued. Today, it made no sense. Like, your bullpen is fine. Like, you just had an off day yesterday. Everybody's good to pitch. So why are you leaving Logan Webb out there to go over 100 pitches? Yeah, the last time he was out there, that was the time to do it. When the guy was on fire rolling and you just pulled him and killed all his momentum. Today you leave him in. When he's not having a great day, when he's having a hard time locating pitches and he's hot and he's sweaty and he's exhausted. I don't understand what Bob Melvin is doing. It seems like his pulse for this team has gotten worse as the season has gone on, which, I mean, it wasn't terrible in the beginning of the year, but I expected it to get better as the season goes on. I mean, that's generally how things go, right? Like you get a new manager, things are kind of weird in the beginning, take some time to get used to it with the players, and everyone takes some time to gel and mesh. That didn't happen. Like the opposite did, where Bob Melvin just kept pushing these wrong buttons, and the Giants seem like they're just violently swinging between winning baseball and just awful, atrocious, terrible, can't win a game type baseball. And today was somewhere in the middle, I guess. I mean, Logan Webb didn't have the best outing, but the Giants made up for it with the bats. Sorta with the long ball. I mean, they did today. They made up for it today with the long ball. They hit 3 home runs in this one. Yaz, Chapman, and my guy, Grant McCray, who I really like. I'm really excited about this guy. It's his 2nd home run in his last 2 games, and he had a bunch of really good at-bats today. Almost bunted for a single. It just barely went foul, drew a tough walk. I mean, he did have 2 strikeouts, but I think that McCray is really starting to like find his footing as a major leaguer. He doesn't look like the moment's too big, doesn't look like he's pressing out there. I mean, he just looks so calm. I mean, the body language just looks so, I mean, like he's supposed to be there. And that's something that I love to see in a young guy. That silent confidence, I think, speaks a lot for a guy like Grant McCray. I really hope that this guy gets a chance to have an extended run, taking over one of these outfield positions next year. I'm assuming it's going to be right field. But this home run showing by the Giants, I mean, it's frustrating because you look at the stats from today's game, as I'm obligated to do on every Locked On Giants postcast. It feels like we got to go over the runners and scoring position stats. Giants 0 for 9, left 3 on base. So the home runs made up for an otherwise really terrible day at the plate, where the Giants continue to show that they have no idea how to score runs in situational at-bats. I will say they did score 1 run that was not on a home run today. It was on a Lamont Wade Jr. ground out that scored Grant McCray, and that was good. That was good. I mean, it was also kind of funny because if you're watching the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast, the Giants generated that run in the top of 3rd. McCray drew a walk, then stole second base, took 3rd base on a balk. And that definitely, I'm crediting Grant McCray a little bit on that one because he was getting in the pitcher's head a little bit with the speed out there. He had taken off on a couple, on a pitch, couple pitches prior to the balk. And he was holding them on a little bit extra. He'd taken a couple extra peeks back over to second base. And McCray was dancing around out there, getting him to keep looking over. And eventually, Brewers pitcher tries to throw one home, slips right off the mound mid delivery and falls down. Doesn't hurt himself, which is good. Grant McCray though gets a free base, gets 3rd base after the balk, and then Lamont Wade Jr. ground ball scores Grant McCray. Giants take a 1-0 lead, and that was the only productive at-bat that the Giants had with runners in scoring position today. It was funny. It was interesting because the NBC Sports Bay Area producers didn't know how many outs there were. The chyron on the screen showed that there were 2 outs before Lamont Wade hit that ground ball. There was only 1 in the inning. McCray led off, and then Casale came up afterwards and recorded an out before that Lamont Wade Jr. at-bat. David Hunter knew it though, so they called the play as it should have been called. Really weird visual though with the NBC Sports Bay Area bump music playing and taking off the chyron, ready to toss to break. You know that dun, 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 dun. I can't do. I'm not going to sing. Never mind. We're not going to do that. But we all mess up sometimes. I mean, me, I know this better than anybody. I haven't worked as a producer in this very same business for quite a while. If you ever listened to the morning shows with Murph and Mac, I mean, those guys loved to rip me every single time that I made a mistake. Even if it wasn't really my fault, I was still just a punching bag on that show. So I know that it's funny for the audience sometimes when those things happen. But if you're in that position, if you're that producer, you just feel like your world's on fire. It is not a fun feeling. So shout out that guy, whoever that was. I actually know a few people who do these post games in a producer role for the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast. Got to check in with them to see who made the error. So yeah, that'll be exactly what I do after this post game show, which is just kind of funny. But the Giants continue to add on to their lead. I mean, throughout this one, they did take that 1-0 lead, but it went back and forth. Brewers responded in the bottom of the third with a leadoff single, and then Chourio just blast one. The rookie outfielder for the Brewers, who I had pegged as one of the leading rookie of the year candidates. A lot of people did early in this season. Blast his 16th home run of the season to center field, left center field. And this one, I mean, he killed this ball. 449 feet, 16th of the season for him, as I just said. And it hit off the scoreboard, actually punched out some lights on it, left behind a little black square panel sitting out there in the lower left part of that scoreboard out there in American Family Field. This ball was a bomb, a monster shot. And he knew it right off the bat. I mean, this guy is a super awesome player for the Brewers, 5-tool player. I mean, I'm just, as a baseball fan, really excited to watch this guy as he progresses through his career. Great defensive player. He can run. He can steal bases. You saw him steal in this one. I mean, it just crazy talented. That home run gave the Brewers a 2-1 lead. Then in the top of the fourth, Chapman responded with a solo home run of his own to right center field, ties it up. It was on a low and away fastball that was near the corner of the plate, went with the pitch, line drive the opposite way. And that ball, I thought it had no chance of getting out of there, and it just kept on carrying. And that home run kind of sent up the flag to me. And it probably should have earlier, based on how that Chourio home run flew. But that Chapman home run did not look like a home run off the bat to me. But the way it flew out of that park just told me immediately, okay, this is not the last home run of this game tonight. The way that ball was flying out of the park in San Francisco. And just, I mean, obviously based on the part of the yard he hit it to, that wouldn't have been a home run there either. But I mean, Chapman, even if that fence at Oracle was, 30 feet closer, I don't think that ball's getting out in San Francisco with the heavy air we got here in this time of year with all the fog and stuff. It's actually been beautiful these last few days, especially in San Francisco. It's like 80 degrees all throughout the city. Amazing weather today. Too bad the Giants are on the road in hot, muggy Milwaukee. But nonetheless, the Chapman home run ties it up 2-2, his 21st of the season, 102.6 miles an hour off the bat, 393 feet. Then in the top of the fifth, the Brewers respond again with another home run. The Giants added another home run to the tally in the fifth inning. Perkins originally robs Tyro of a home run, almost had 2 jacks in this one. I mean, Perkins, that was a great catch in center field, ran a long way to get there. Caught the ball at that weird part of the wall in Milwaukee in the left center field, where it kind of like the left field wall jetties like straight back for a second and before it continues the arc in center field. And so it's a little bit of an awkward angle there. And that dude played it perfectly. I mean, looked like he's been playing on that field since he was a child, the way that he knew exactly where to go, how to climb the wall, timed it perfect. And he had to run a long way to get that one. I was very impressed with that play by Perkins. But then up comes Grant McCray, and he blasts a monster home run of his own, third of the season, second in his last 2 games. Knew it as soon as he hit it. 422 feet into the upper deck in right center field, 108.5 miles an hour off the bat, gives the Giants a 3-2 lead. And man, oh man, this kid displaying power like this for a guy that looks that wiry. I mean, we've heard it on the broadcast a few times. Keep saying that he's like sneaky big, a sneaky big guy. Like you've heard this term skinny fat. Well, this guy's skinny strong. I mean, he's not skinny fat at all. I mean, the way that he's running around the bases. But Grant McCray showing that skinny guy strength, and I mean, 422 feet. That's no joke, man. This home run was a monster, an absolute bullet off the bat. Went up into the upper deck, into that second deck of the Brewers outfield out there in right center field. Man, that was a awesome visual from McCray. And as I said earlier, I really hope this kid gets extended run in the outfield to start next year. That's where my focus really is at this point. And I think that's where all Giants fans focus should be with the way that this team has been playing, though they did get the lead today. In the bottom of the sixth, Webb comes out to start that inning. Again, I have no idea why Logan Webb came out in the sixth inning. He was already right up near 100 pitches. The Giants had a lead, like go to the bullpen in this situation. It made no sense to put Webb back out there. And the Giants immediately pay for it. Adames smashes a 2-run home run. Brewers really do like their home runs, man. I mean, they do the whole light show thing. I mean, the Giants now have a light show finally after not having one for eons. And they have the mascot slide down that big spiral yellow slide out in the outfield. And the Brewers mascot's kind of funny to me. It does that big mustache, the big yellow mustache. It's interesting. I mean, maybe we should make Lucille go down the Coke slide, but then we couldn't see him because it's an enclosed like circle. It'd be cool if you could see people going down the Coke slide. Maybe that's a renovation they need to make to Oracle. That'd be kind of cool to be able to see people sliding down that slide. Nonetheless, the 2-run shot gives the Brewers a 4-3 lead, fourth home run of the game between the two teams, and that was it for Logan Webb. Camilo Doval then comes in as a middle inning reliever, which is very weird to me. It felt like end of game vibes. I mean, the tension, the pressure, the amount of time in between each pitch felt very much like a late inning, and it was like the sixth inning, and it was just a weird visual seeing Doval out there, man, in that situation. Comes in, gets back-to-back strikeouts, then gives up a double down the right field line. That one hopped the wall. Walks a guy. He did, I should say, in that Ortiz at bat that he ended up walking the ninth hitter in. He threw a perfect strikeout pitch on a 2-2 count, hit the corner of the zone, and it was called a ball. But you can't let that take you out of it if you're Camilo Doval. You got to move on. You got to move on to the next pitch mentality. Don't let your whole day be ruined by making one bad call. Go out there and do it again, and maybe you'll get the call the next time. So that's what Doval needs to do. It's all in his head. His arm is amazing, but man, he walks another guy after he walks Ortiz. So now he loads the bases. He's having a hard time getting strikes, had a pitch clock violation in the middle of all this. And for some reason, Bob Melvin doesn't get anyone warming up until he loads the bases. And I have a huge problem with that because at this point in time, Camilo Doval. If you're Bob Melvin, when this guy's got it and when he doesn't. His first 2 strikeouts were great. But then we saw the pitch clock violation. We saw the hard contact down the right field line. We saw the walk. At that point, before he issues the second walk, you need to get a guy going in the bullpen right then. Because we know how fast things can devolve with Doval. We know this. We know he can walk a lot of guys. When he's having a hard time throwing strikes, it doesn't usually get better. He doesn't usually find his form. The other team has to bail him out. That's exactly what happened this time. He got Churio to fly out to center field, but that was some loud contact, man. If he had just gotten a little bit more of that ball, that's going over the fence for a 3-run home run on a night like tonight. So Bob Melvin narrowly escapes another just awful decision where, I don't know why you're just leaving guys out on the line to just get roughed up continuously. Like, you have to have some kind of feel for your pitching staff. And as days go by, it feels like his feel for it is getting worse and worse. Nonetheless, Doval gets out of the inning without allowing a run, even though he had all these base runners that he put on there himself for the most part. Very typical of what we've seen from Doval this year. Then finally, the Giants take the lead once and for all. Chapman leadoff single that should have been a double. Right field makes a great play by diving for the ball in the gap that was rolling to the wall. It was not in the air. He dove to stop it just from rolling by him. Pops up and fires the ball back to keep Chappie at first, and Chapman runs well. So this was a great play by the Brewers outfield. It doesn't really matter, though, because Yaz comes up and blasts one to center, gives the Giants a 5-4 lead, his 11th of the season, just 377 feet, 102.1 off the bat. Again, this is a home run that just barely got out today because of the conditions in Milwaukee. But for the Giants, that was all they needed in this one. Cruise to the finish line. And I actually didn't really get to see the end of this one as closely as would have liked to see. And I'll explain why on the other side. We're up against it. We got to take a quick break here. But a funny story from the outside perspective. Very stressful end of this Giants game for me. I'll explain why on the other side of the Locked On Giants postcast. Stick with us here. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can receive a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. All you got to do is bet $5. Don't even need to win. Just bet $5. Hey, obviously, you still could win, but you're at worst, you're getting 3 free weeks of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV for just a $5 bet. You got to be insane not to capitalize on this. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I'm just taking a peek at the chat. And Charles says McCray has the same batting stance as Bellinger, and I really wanted Bellinger to come here in the offseason. If that's the comp, that's not a bad comp. I mean, I don't know any idea about how their numbers stack up against each other this year. When you go look at the deeper metrics, maybe we'll do that later on. But yeah, the batting stance very similar and can patrol the outfield pretty well too, just like Bellinger does. So I kind of like McCray a little bit better with his skills that he's shown in the outfield so far this year. But today he shows off the skill with the bat, and smashes another home run, his second in as many games. And the Giants hit 3 in total, 5 total home runs in this one between the two teams. The ball was just flying out of there. And I would have liked to see how this one ended, but the last 2.5, 3 innings, I'm just going to pull back the curtain a little bit here. My window is right next to me, and living in San Francisco, I don't have screens on my windows. There's a lot of homes here don't. You just don't really need them. I left my window open and was sure that my cat had escaped, and I just ran outside for like the last 2.5, 3 innings of this game, frantically looking for this little guy, and it just drove me insane. So I didn't really get to see the end of how this one turned out. Turns out he was hiding in the closet the whole time. So all that stress for absolutely no reason. So this one ended up being really stressful for me at the end. Not as stressful seemingly for the Giants. I mean, from what I looked at when I went back to quickly rewatch it, looked like the bullpen just gave up a couple little hits here and there. Never really ran into too much trouble. No one gave up more than 1 hit in an inning. Tyler Rogers, I know he had a little bit of a questionable 8th inning, and he's had a lot of up and down innings lately. He gave up 1 hit and had a couple strikeouts, but came in to clean up some of Landon Roop's issues. He issued a couple walks, and with Tyler Rogers coming in those situations, seems like Giants fans kind of still hold their breath. I don't really know why. This guy seems to get the job done in every situation. It's been very few times this year where he's let the Giants down in situations like this. It's, one is very recently where he just gave up those 6 singles in one inning and gave up like 4 runs. But again, another instance where Bob Melvin just left a guy out there to die on the line for no reason at all. And I think that speaks more to the management than the guy. You look at Tyler Rogers' body of work this season, it speaks for itself. He has been awesome. And Ryan Walker comes in, gets his 4th save of the season, did give up a hit, but also got a strikeout. That ERA is now sub-2, 1.95 ERA for Ryan Walker on the season. The Giants pitchers as a whole generate 10 strikeouts today, but they did walk 7. They also gave up 7 hits to the Brewers, so they did a good job of making the Brewers leave runners on base, of stranding these opponents. They stranded 11 Milwaukee Brewers on the base paths today, and that was, essential for the Giants to win. And it was especially important for the bullpen to show up today because, Logan Webb is a guy that you can count on to go 7 innings usually. He's done it 15 times this year, most in the major leagues, and definitely far more than anyone else on this team has. The only other guys to pitch 7 innings is Blake Snell 3 times, which is shocking in its own right. Jordan Hicks once, and Kyle Harrison once. That's 6 total times that a Giants pitcher has pitched 7 innings in a game. Logan Webb's done it 15 times. So Webby doing all the heavy lifting for this pitching staff. And I think the bullpen, when they had to come out today, I think they wanted to give Webby like a little lift, because he wasn't having the best day out there. He was hot. He was getting roughed up and gave up a couple home runs today, which Logan Webb has not given up very many home runs all year long. I mean, for him to give up 2 in one game, that's very uncommon. So, Logan Webb has only given up, coming into this one, 7 home runs all season long. So gives up 2 more today. Not usual stuff that we see from Webby. And again, this just speaks more to why the hell did Bob Melvin leave Logan Webb out there in the 6th inning? Why did he make this guy go back out there and add to that pitch count, which was already in the mid to high 90s? And the Giants were already in the lead. And it's not like this guy was pitching lights out ball. I mean, you go to the bullpen in that situation. I don't understand. You got to save Webb from himself in certain situations. Last time out was the time to let Logan stretch out and go long, because he was already rolling in the 8th inning, and you just killed all the momentum when you yanked him out of that game. I think you needed to leave Logan Webb out there last time, not this time, and just giving him another extra inning of work today because you robbed him of it on his last time out doesn't make it any better. So Logan Webb kind of got shafted a little bit, I think, by Bob Melvin in this one. I mean, just not great. I mean, it as I've said a few times in the show, it feels like Bob Melvin's pulse of this team is getting worse and worse as the season goes on, which is, I mean, his record in one-run games is pretty terrible. The Giants, with the win here, they climb back to 500 in these one-run games. That's not good enough. Playoff teams don't go 500 in one-run games. It's not how that works. Bob Melvin had a really, really, really hard time winning one-run games in San Diego last year, and it seems that problem has followed him to the Giants. And, I mean, you look at these types of decisions, and these are the types of decisions that can change a game by 1 or 2 runs and make a difference in this. If you had taken out Webb in the after 5 and you hadn't let him go back out there for 6, maybe that other run, those other 2 runs don't score. Maybe they don't get the Willy Adames 2-run jack in that inning. Maybe it's a little bit different. So the Giants need to start making better decisions. I say the Giants, it's Bob Melvin needs to start making better decisions. And man, I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated at this point. The Giants do go back over 500 with the win. They're 67 and 66. And I know I'm frustrated and they won today, but this is just so late in the season for the Giants to have less than like 70 or 80 wins at this point in the season is just not where you want to be. I mean, the Giants are with the win. They're still 5.5 back from the Atlanta Braves. They're sitting there tied with the Cubs. I mean, you gain a game on the Cardinals. They're sitting at 7 back now. The Cardinals are pretty much dead in the water. The Reds are pretty much dead in the water too. At 9 games back past that, doesn't really matter who else is in contention. But the Cubs 3.5 back, the Mets 3.5 back. You're 5.5 back, and it's August 27th. This season's pretty much done, man. There's very, very, very slim chance the Giants are going to be able to overcome this and actually come back and make the playoffs. I mean, you need a couple epic collapses by not just the Braves, but like the Mets, and you got to beat out the Cubs down the stretch. The Cubs, who have played the Giants pretty evenly this year. All these teams that the Giants are kind of stuck around with, they played, traded wins back and forth with for the most part, except for the Cardinals, who just absolutely beat the hell out of the Giants earlier this season in the Rickwood series. That was a little bit of a bummer to not get a win at all during that Willie Mays time right after he had passed away, and that trip out to Rickwood Field. Man, that's just a bummer of a road trip that should have been so much higher on the vibe level. A lot of vibes from that road trip, but still leaves a lot to be desired. And if you had won maybe 1 or 2 games on that road trip, maybe you're still in playoff contention. Maybe you're only 3.5 back like the New York Mets, and you still have a little bit of life. But sitting here 5.5 back on August 27th doesn't look good for your Giants. We've got to take one more quick break. On the other side, we're going to put a bow on this show. Thanks for tuning in to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse.com. SupplyHouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is jam-packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free Trade Master program. Every Trade Master gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their memberships at SupplyHouse.com/T-M and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Today, the Giants win 5-4 over the Milwaukee Brewers at American Family Field, which I gotta say, renaming I can't even say it. If I'm tripping over my words saying the name of the field, it's a bad field name. I trip over my words a lot though, but it used to be Miller Park. It was a great baseball stadium name, especially for a team named the Brewers. And then you change it to American Family Field. Come on, man. Come on. Can we get more vanilla than that? Like, can we have fun with things anymore? This is in the era of like the worst named arenas and fields. And I mean, you look around like sports in general, like you got the Smoothie King Center down there in Louisiana where the Pelicans play in New Orleans. I mean, you got, Staples Center is now the crypto.com arena. Like, oh my God. Now we lose Miller Park and we get American Family Field instead. Garbage. Absolute garbage. We used to be a society, man. We used to have nice things. Now we got American Family Field and the Smoothie King Center and the crypto.com arena. Wonderful. At least, I do like Oracle Park a little bit better than some of the other iterations that we've had. Pac Bell is still all-time number one for me. Pac Bell Park. That was the best name. It was just vibes maybe coming over from Candlestick and in the fresh ballpark. But I did not like SBC. That was not a fun name. AT&T was fine, but Oracle, I like Oracle. It's got the Warriors vibe still, it has the vibe of a champion, has a championship vibe. Giants are a long way from a championship vibe on their roster right now. Even though they won today, go back over 500, sitting at 67-66 on the season. It just feels like Bob Melvin's flying blind at this point. Like he has no real feel for this team, for this pitching staff. I mean, the way that he's been platooning guys in situations that just don't make sense to platoon. I mean, I gotta give my guy Ryan a shout out. Ryan, faithful listener to the Locked On Giants postcast, one of our everydayers. And Ryan has pointed out several times in the chats. I mean, he loves him some Michael Conforto, and he's pointed out multiple times that this guy has great reverse splits. And yet the Giants continue to take him out in the lefty-lefty matchups, and I just don't understand why they keep doing this to Michael Conforto. Like, it doesn't make any sense because this guy hits lefties better than he hits righties. So Bob Melvin, the fact that we all know this, and he doesn't seem to know this, is not great. The fact that Bob Melvin just doesn't seem to have a feel for his pitching staff on August 27th, also not great. The fact that the Giants can't seem to put more than one or two wins together at a time after going above 500, also not great. Not the sign of a playoff team. I mean, you're exactly 501 run games this year. It's just not the Giants year. It's just not the Giants year. So we got to shift. I think it's time to shift, see what these young guys got. I mean, call them all up, play them all. I mean, I personally want to see Logan Webb go on a dominant run to finish out the season so he can secure his first NL Cy Young win, which I think could maybe be on the table still if he finishes this season. If he comes out and just has a monster September, I think he'll be right there in that discussion, although there's a lot of guys in the National League, a lot of really good pitchers this year. And of course, you have to deal with the hype train of Paul Skeens out there in Pittsburgh, who might just win it on notoriety alone based on the way that this guy just took Major League Baseball by storm. And I'm not taking anything away from what this guy has physically done on the field. It's been amazing, but this guy's only played like 2/3 of the season. So maybe you should look elsewhere to give that award. Personally, that's what I feel. But I mean, there's no denying the dominance of a Paul Skeens this year. I mean, I try to tune into all of his starts that I can. They're absolutely electric. I am actively seeking out Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. That is what that guy has done for that team and for this game, which is crazy. Amazing talent. I mean, I highly suggest you go and tune into some Paul Skeens games if you haven't for some reason yet. So the Giants, again, 5-4 win today. 5 total home runs in this one between the two teams, 3 for the Giants, 2 for the Brewers, and that's the difference in this one as the Giants get just one more run. Mikey Yaz delivering the knockout blow for the Giants, and Chapman and McCray both contributed long balls as well. Logan Webb, 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, kind of shaky, labored early on a hot, muggy day out in Milwaukee, and seemed to really drain him, especially based on how many deep starts he's had, threw over 100 pitches. And Bob Melvin, I mean, dude, take off the blinders and please get a pulse on this team. It's about all the time we got for you guys today. We'll be coming to you live tomorrow as the Giants take on the Brewers in the second game of this 3-game series. Hopefully, my cat does not escape during that show and I don't spend 3 innings looking for him outside. I also got to give a big shout out to my girlfriend who went and searched for him in her pajamas outside here in San Francisco for a while, just doing everything she could to try and get the cat home, only for him to just be hiding inside in the closet. Man, that dude's a little terror. So hopefully I get to see the end of the Giants game next time and I'm not wasting all this time. I'm not wasting your guys' time on the Locked On Giants postcast talking about my damn cat. Oh, man. All right. We'll wrap up this show. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next time. Peace.